Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and another episode of What to Throw Wednesday here on So In Outdoors. So first things first, we've had a crazy week and a half with the weather. It's been all over the place. We went from cold to warm to cold, back to warm again, and every time we get that warm front, we're getting rain. Last Thursday we had 2 to 3 inches of rain. Today we've seen close to 2 inches of rain. And this coming Thursday, we're going to get another inch of rain possibly. So what we're seeing now is these warmer days and this warmer rainwater is actually raising that water temperature in the lake, which to me is awesome because it's going to start to get those fish moving in that direction. Not to mention the days are starting to get longer. Most of that first push of fish moving from the little bit deeper water up shallow or moving up tighter to cover on the bank has more to do with the length of daylight than it does anything. So as the days are getting longer, now you've got a situation where the water's rising, and that just leads those fish right up the bank, and that's what they typically are going to do when you get a higher water situation. Even in the wintertime, they're still going to make that move to an extent. So one of my favorite baits to target them when they're doing that is a good old crankbait. I got my crankbait box here, guys. I keep it pretty simple. I don't have a bazillion crankbaits, a bazillion square bills in a bunch of different colors. I keep it pretty basic, pretty simple. I carry a square bill style crankbait. I carry a rounded bill type crankbait, like maybe a Bandit 200 or a DT4 or DT6. And then I'm going to carry a couple flat-sided crankbaits in just a few colors. So this time of year, now the water's going to be dirty after all that rain. So there's going to be 2 main crankbaits I'm going to focus on. One of them is going to be a Rapala DT6, and this is in Demon Crawl. This is a slick little crankbait right here. Great crankbait in the spring. Why do fish love red in the spring? I have no idea. Will they eat red year-round? Probably so. But seems like it's just kind of a spring deal. So this is going to be more of your rounded bill type crankbait. A lot of your diving depth is going to be predicated on the line that you use. So I use a lot of fluorocarbon primarily for my crankbaits. If I want a bait to run a little deeper, I might downsize my fluorocarbon line. So let's say, for instance, I've got a 1.5 square bill here. Let me get one out. This bait here is going to run anywhere from 4 to 5 feet deep. Now, let's say that I want this bait to run 6 or 7. 7's going to be hard to come by, but I could downsize my line to 8 or 10 pound test, and I can get a foot or 2 more out of this little crankbait. And likewise, if I want it to run a little shallower, I can go a little heavier on the line or switch to mono. By switching to a 14 pound mono on this crankbait right here, you could take a bait that typically would dive 5 to 6 foot or 4 to 5 foot, and you can actually take this crankbait and you can get it down to where it only runs about 3 with a little bit heavier mono. So a couple things to remember in crankbaits is pitch and roll. So when you're looking at a crankbait, let me grab one here. This is a Berkeley Fritz-side, little flat-sided crankbait. This is a bad mama jamma. When we look at crankbaits, we look at a couple different things. The action, which would be the wobble. The tighter the tighter that wobble, the tighter that action. So as you're reeling that crankbait, the water displaces over the bill. As the water displaces over the bill, that's going to turn this crankbait down, and it's going to give it that kind of vibration, that walking back and forth action. So this is going to be your wiggle. Okay. Flat-sided crankbaits displace less water, so they have a tighter wiggle. The bill also can determine how much of a wiggle you're going to have based on the shape, and the angle is going to create that a lot too. So the other thing that you're going to look at is pitch. So a bait at a level plane here, pitch is going to be your front and back, or the pitch would be dictated by the placement of this bill and the angle. So this bill runs true in line with the back, so to speak. So this bait is going to run a little bit nose heavy. Not a lot, but a little bit nose heavy. The farther down this bill goes, the farther down this bait's going to run nose down. Also, the line tie. If the line tie's on the bill, that can drastically change the action of the bait versus the line tie being on the bait itself, not on the bill. The next thing is roll. So not only does a bait twist side to side, you also have the roll of the bait. As the water displaces over the bill, that bait is also going to have a rolling action. There again, the shallower the belly of this crankbait, pretty flat sides, the less roll it's going to have. Whereas when we get into a bait like this 2.5, it's got a deeper belly, you can see, more rounded. It's going to have a lot more roll as well as a lot more wiggle. So as the water warms up, we'll go to a more erratic action crankbait. But in the spring when the water's cool and in the winter, as it's warming up, I'm going to traditionally go with more of a flat-sided style crankbait. Now another great crankbait that's been on the market now for about a year, and it's a phenomenal little booger, is the Rapala OG Slim. Now, my only beef with this bait is I love the bait, I love the profile, love the bill, the circuit board bill. These hooks are massive. They are some big hooks. I haven't downsized them. I would like to take these down a little bit. I think they're just a little bit aggressive for me as far as hook size goes. This bait tends to hang up a little bit. But the actual, this Ox Garage OG Slim by Rapala, it's got a great tight action. Not a lot of roll, and it pitches. As you can see, this bait, it runs in line with this back, but it's turned down slightly. It pitches down just a little bit more than what the Fritz side does. If I had to pick one or the other on flat-sided crankbaits, I'm taking the Fritz side. But this one here is pretty good. They've got a newer, much smaller version of this OG Slim that I think could be really good too. So I haven't tried it yet. The DT6 is great. DT4 is great. I like to throw those when the water gets a little bit warmer. I'm going to say upper 40s, lower 50s, whereas my flat sides are going to be thrown more in that 42, 44, 45 range. But this one right here, if you can find them, this is a Lure Jensen Speed Trap. Now, a Speed Trap has a very slender body, almost like a flat-sided crankbait, but it has a little bit of a deeper belly, so you get a deeper roll. You get a little bit more tail kick because of the water displacement. And the great thing about this bait is you can fish it really slow and maintain depth pretty daggone good. So when you get it down and you reel it real slow, you don't get a lot of lift in this bait. It will kind of maintain depth. So those are some things to try. Crankbaits, when that water's coming up, I'm going to be focusing on that 2 to 4 foot range. 4 foot, I'm going to kick that DT6 out there, let it deflect off some cover. I want a bait that's going to run a little bit deeper than what I'm fishing. I want to get that deflection. Same thing with my flat sides. I still want to get that deflection. So I'm going to fish it a little bit shallower than what the bait runs. That way we get that reaction bite. You have to vary your speed a little bit. You got to figure out what the fish want. Do they want it really slow? Can you speed it up? Do you need to deflect off cover? Can you free reel it? What are the different nuances of the day? But when that water's coming up and the water temperature's coming up with it and the days are getting longer, we ain't far away, guys. When all three of those things collide, it could get real in a hurry and you don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching another episode of What to Throw Wednesday. Pick your crankbait up. Go throw her down some riprap. See if you can put a few hogs in the boat before everybody else even gets on the water. See you guys again next week. Have a great day.